Sometimes a new technology can be used for totally opposite things, and there's maybe no better example than cryptocurrency in Venezuela. For the government, it was a tool for corruption, but for its people, it was a lifeline. So today we're going to dig into both sides of that coin.
So, picture this. It's 2018, and Venezuela's economy is in an absolute freefall. The government, led by Maduro, is desperate. So they make this huge, flashy move. They launch their very own national cryptocurrency, the Petro. And the promise, it was a big one, that this digital coin would save the entire country.
But here's the thing that gets really interesting. While the state is busy building this crypto empire from the top, what were its citizens doing? How were they using this exact same technology? Not for power, but just to get by day to day.
And that's really the heart of it. It's the story of two Venezuelas, and the two totally different sides of the crypto coin.
All right, let's get into it. Before we can even talk about crypto, you have to understand the backdrop. I mean, the economic situation in Venezuela was so extreme, it's what made crypto not just an option, but for many, a necessity.
And President Maduro came out swinging. His language was super defiant. He basically called the Petro a weapon to fight Superman, his name for the United States. It was all about getting around sanctions and taking back control.
But, behind all that tough talk was an absolutely brutal reality. We're talking about hyperinflation hitting a peak of, get this, 10 million%. 10 million. The country's currency, the bolivar, was basically just paper. People's life savings? Gone. Wiped out just like that.
And this chart here really shows you why it all fell apart. I mean, Venezuela's entire economy was built on oil. It was everything. But look at this nosedive. Production just plummeted, thanks to a mix of mismanagement, corruption, and of course, sanctions. The old economic engine wasn't just sputtering, it was completely broken.
So, in this total chaos, this desperation, it created a perfect opening for something new, like crypto. But guess who jumped on it first? Not the people. It was the state itself. And they weren't building a tool for recovery. No, they were building a machine for control and corruption.
So what even was this Petro? Well, on paper, it was a state-issued digital currency, supposedly backed by the country's oil reserves. But it was missing all the key stuff that makes a cryptocurrency a cryptocurrency. It wasn't decentralized, nobody could see the code, and that whole oil-backed thing, it was never actually verified. So pretty much every expert called it a sham from day one. And surprise, surprise, it officially died in early 2024.
And this is the really critical part. They didn't just create it, they forced it on people. They built this whole ecosystem of control around it. You had Sunicrypt, the government agency in charge of all crypto. You had the Petro app, which was the state-controlled wallet. They tied social benefits to using the Petro through something called the Patria platform. And they even created a mandatory national mining pool so they could control all crypto mining. It was the whole shebang.
And if you want to know how dark this got, just listen to this quote from politician Leopoldo Lopez. It's honestly chilling. He describes his jailer literally taking a Bitcoin mining course. And the strategy was simple. They just asked the electric company for records of high energy use, figure out who was mining crypto, and then they'd go raid the place, take the machines, and run the mine for themselves. Just pure extortion.
And all of this control, this extortion, it was all building towards something even bigger. A huge international corruption scheme designed to get around sanctions.
Here's how it worked. U.S. sanctions were blocking their oil sales, right? So the state oil company, PDVSA, got creative. They started demanding payment in stablecoins. These are cryptocurrencies that are pegged to a stable asset, usually the US dollar. So by using things like USDT, they could sell oil on the black market and get their hands on that sweet, sweet foreign currency.
Okay, now this looks complicated, I know, but it's basically a map of the crime. Thanks to blockchain analysis, you can follow the money. And what you're seeing here is more than $70 million in stablecoins flowing from wallets tied to Sunicrypt, bouncing through a network of money brokers, and then finally being cashed out at big global crypto exchanges. This was a full-blown money laundering pipeline, right here in plain sight.
And then, in March 2023, the whole thing just exploded. The scandal, known as the PDVSA crypto case, hit the news, and the numbers were just mind-boggling. Somewhere between $3 and $20 billion in oil money had just disappeared, vanished. The head of Sunicrypt got arrested, and the government's whole crypto fantasy came crashing down.
So that's one side of the coin, right? The government side. A total mess of corruption, control, and failure. But that's only half the story. The big question is, what was happening on the other side? What were regular, everyday people doing with crypto? And this is where the story completely flips. Because for ordinary Venezuelans, crypto wasn't about corruption at all. It was about survival. It was a lifeline.
And you can see the choice they made right here. The government was pushing its useless petro, but look what the people actually used. They flocked to stablecoins, coins tied to the US dollar. Why? Because it was the only way to protect their savings from being completely destroyed by hyperinflation.
And how did they get them? This chart tells that story. Volume on peer-to-peer platforms, or P2P, just went through the roof. These are places where people can trade directly with each other. No government middleman, no corrupt exchanges. It was a genuine grassroots movement, happening completely outside of the state's control.
There's probably no better example of this than the incredible Health Heroes program during the pandemic. So here's what happened. There was aid money that was frozen because of sanctions, but they got it approved. Instead of sending it through government channels where it would get stolen, they sent it into Venezuela using stablecoins on a P2P platform. Then, a network of trusted people on the ground, they called them human ATMs, would convert that crypto back into cash and get it directly to over 60,000 healthcare workers. It's an amazing story.
So, did it work? You bet it did. A staggering 98% of the healthcare workers got the aid they were promised. 98%. It was just this incredible proof of concept, showing how crypto could be a powerful tool for good, even in one of the toughest places on Earth.
All right, so let's pull back and look at the big picture. You've got these two totally opposite stories using the exact same technology unfolding in the very same country at the very same time. It's pretty wild.
And it really just boils down to this comparison. On one side, the state's crypto was about control, centralized platforms. On the other, the people's crypto was about freedom, decentralized networks. The state used it for corruption and theft. The people used it for survival, to protect themselves from hyperinflation. The state used it to get around sanctions for the elite, while the people used it as a lifeline to get money from family abroad.
And all of this leaves us with a really big question to think about. When you look at a story like Venezuela's, you have to ask yourself, for the millions of people around the world living under authoritarian regimes or in collapsed economies, is crypto just some speculative toy for rich investors? Or is it becoming something much, much more? Is it becoming a basic necessity for survival?